What's up, guys? Coach Sil here from Bone Athletics, and we're going to do a couple of videos. First one here, starting off, we're going to go over the deadlift. And it's going to be a very different video from what you guys usually see on YouTube, where people just show you how to deadlift and all that good stuff. But we're going to just kind of have an open conversation about the lift itself, the benefits of it, how to do it, how to be more efficient, how to go heavy, how to go light, and all that, and different variations of deadlift. So Coach Sebastian here with me, and we're going to work together to kind of break down this movement. Arguably one of the best bang for your buck lifts. So if you're not deadlifting at least once a week, you're probably a loser. I don't know.
Definitely a loser.
Yeah. All right, so real quick, it's gonna show you guys the setup. So there's a lot of argument here with the setup. Some people like to set up a few inches away. Some people like to set up above the shoelaces. But if you look at Coach Sil here, you come from the side, you'll see his angles. Yeah, that's good. You see his angles here, so this setup is pretty good. Now when he does this, he wants to apply tension on the bar by pulling the bar up slightly. There you go. And I'll lift the hips up a little bit to feel tension in the hamstrings. And once he's ready to go, he's gonna stand right up. As he comes down, chin's tucked in. Notice he's not looking up the whole time. He's looking down at a 45-degree angle, and he's touching it, and then comes back up. You'll notice how close the bar is to his shins here. Very, very close. And as he comes down, notice the knees stay out of the way, so he's traveling in a straight line with the bar. And it's almost like he's bowing, so he's coming down with a nice little bow. And once he clears his knees, he's able to sit down. Now just sit down and put your butt lower, down there. So notice that when he does a couple of reps, the butt kind of falls a little bit low. And as we get heavy, every single rep, when he continues it, he's gonna shoot his butt up and then initiate the lift. So we wanna keep those hamstrings engaged on every rep. So go down, keep the hips fairly high, and up. There you go. Okay, and drop it. So that's a lot of information, and that is basically the deadlift. One thing about deadlift is that there are different variations. You do have the sumo variation, right? So I want to show us the sumo variation. Someone's phone's going off. So very similar here as a traditional deadlift. However, his arms on the inside of his legs here. He does a good job of taking his knees and still tracking it over his toes. Do a crappy one where you just get lazy with the knees. The back of the ship, but the knees are still pretty good. So what people usually do when they go so wide, their knees end up buckling, right? So you're setting up for your deadlift nice and wide here, and you're gonna go for your deadlift, and then they start buckling their knees. So we want to avoid that on the sumo. The sumo is both a preference thing, also a body type thing. So depending on your leverages, the sumo you might be able to lift heavier. Some people lift heavier in the sumo, some people don't. There are arguments about people like calling this lift a bullshit lift, right? Cheating lift. I don't think it's cheating. Strongest woman in the world, Sasha. Oh no, what's her name? Cohen? Steffi? She would argue against it. She loves this lift. Yeah. So for the sumo, the last thing is with the deadlift. Your hips are kind of like a car jack. So think of it as a car jack. When you're jacking up a car, your hips are, your butt is here. As you're lifting up the car, your butt's actually going down. Most people think of deadlift as a pull, and it is. They're pulling up, but they shoot their hips up high. If you notice Sebastian's hips again, go ahead and set up. They don't necessarily move. He's pressing into the floor with his legs. And keep your hips a little bit lower. Drive down the hips. Yeah, that's it. Okay? In terms of the actual deadlift, there is a difference in barbell cycling and actually lifting heavy. So when we set up for the deadlift, the first couple reps are easy if we're doing a workout with high repetition deadlifts. If you're setting up heavy, there is a bit of a difference. So with the barbell cycling, Sebastian's gonna set up here. He's gonna rep out like 5 reps, just up and down, touch, up, hips are high, and that's all good, right? Put it down. With the 1 rep max, the bar's gonna move a lot slower, obviously, right? So a lot of things to be mindful of. So with the 1 rep max, if you set up, what you don't wanna do is rip the bar off the floor. So set up here, engage your lats, shoulder blades back, chin in, hips higher. There you go, apply tension on the bar. Now lean back on your heels, and now pull. There you go. And that's the difference in a 1 rep max, okay? So it is the same lift, but it's a bit more controlled. you want to be a bit more methodical with your heavy lift. If you're doing a conditioning workout, then it's a bit different in how you're going to cycle it back and forth. Cool? Anything you want to add?
Just for in regards to the barbell cycling, one thing that I tend to keep an eye on as I go through my reps is that it's almost as important coming down as it is going up for the barbell cycling. So one thing that I always try to keep my eye on is as I'm coming up and then further down to that position, I'll always try to hinge at my head first so I can recruit those hamstrings as soon as possible and then ride that the rest of the way down and keep the tension where it needs to be on that posterior, rather than bending at the knee first, having all the tension fall to the quads, and then having to try to find my hamstrings anywhere else on the way down.
So show us a shitty knee bend. Alright, so notice when he does that with the knee bend, not only does he lose the lift on the touch and go, right? When you do multiple repetitions, the bar is also very far away from your shin. So if you're your second and third rep, the bar is further and further away, and the further away the bar is from the body, the heavier it is to lift. So you want to keep that bar as tight as possible. If you guys see like weightlifters and powerlifters, they generally have scraped up shins because they like to scrape. You ideally don't want to scrape your shins, but you want to be as close as possible. So when I set up for the deadlift, I literally walk to the bar and kick out my shins, and I get like this close. I let the bar just kind of hang out on my shins here, and then as I bend down and grab it, it separates on its own. Once I engage the proper muscle, the bar moves about an inch or two away from my shins when I'm in position. But my setup always is right to the bar, bend over, set up. And that way it's fairly close, and it allows the bar to travel in a straight line, right? In terms of belt, straps, and shoes, talking about deadlifts and gear here, not that kind of gear, actual gear you wear. So when to wear a belt or to not wear a belt, what do you think?
For me, it depends on the loading and the total volume across. If it's higher volume, depending on what else is mixed in with the workout, I'll tend to go a belt if it's accessible. But in terms of just like general training, I try not to use it as much as I can.
Yeah. So my philosophy on belts is that I don't wear belts until it gets to a point where I am not strong enough to maintain proper positioning. So belt helps me to brace my core and maintain a nice neutral spine when the weight gets heavy. If I don't need it, I won't wear it. But if I feel like I'm just not able to maintain that position and it's a sense of weakness, then I'll add the belt when that weight gets heavy, or if I'm doing a lot of high repetition at a medium heavy weight, right? Doing that will allow you to develop your core as you're doing all types of lifts, squats, Olympic lifts and all that. And then it's a tool, right? So you go to it when you need it. You don't have to, I wouldn't rely on it very often.
Almost mental too.
It is mental as well, yeah. So like I have certain numbers that when I know I get to, I belt up before I hit those numbers, and like I get a little scared. And then in terms of straps, to use straps or not to use straps, that basically depends on your type of training. So if you're gonna deadlift once a week, no, don't use straps. Straps are dumb.
Build the strength.
But if you're build your grip strength, build the strength that you need. But if you're lifting a lot and you're doing high volume, you're doing high repetitions, and you're doing cleans and snatches and deadlifts, a lot of pulling, I would 100% use straps. Take the pressure off your forearms a little bit. And using straps is also good if you decide to go super heavy for a bit more volume, because then you're getting the benefit of the deadlift, strengthening your posterior chain, and the limiting factor, which is your grip, won't kick in. So you're getting way more out of the exercise if you're going heavy for high volume.
One thing I tend to do too is as I like partition, especially something like deadlift or like a clean pull or something. If I start to do like halting deadlifts where I have to hold a position on the way up before I come the rest of the way up, or a pausing deadlift or anything like that. Usually if I'm forced into that position with my grip, I'll tend to throw on straps just to make sure that I have that extra little bit of security.
Right, and then that way you're strengthening what you want to strengthen, and you're not worried about your grip.
Right.
And in terms of shoes, deadlifting, I like deadlifting bare feet. I really enjoy it.
Yep.
Lifting in shoes like these that are super comfortable to walk in is terrible. There's no stability, so soft shoes are a no-go. I've heard people, very rare, actually some pretty famous people, like to wear lifters for deadlifts. The general consensus is don't wear lifter for deadlifts, because if you're trying to stay back, you're already elevated here, so staying back as you lift, your heel is already lifted here. Some people prefer it. I don't like it. I've lifted in lifters before because I was lazy to treat my shoes, and when it gets heavy, I don't like lifting lifters. Stuff like Chucks, like Converse, something with flat sole, minimalist shoes are great for deadlifting.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's like the most the way I like to think about it is like the most natural thing in the world, just to pick up something off the floor. Like you've been doing it since the start of evolution or whatever. So doing something that's like barefoot or as close as you can get to it is
And if you want a PR like all the time, then just make sure your last rep you do with your shirt off and. Most likely PR.
Lose drag.
That's right, lose drag. So let us know what you guys think. Let us know if you want us to hit another topic or another movement, and then we'll do our best to get there. Welcome positive and negative feedback, but don't be assholes. Peace.